What is up, guys? CT Kidney here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a more in-depth look at the talent changes that just came in the newer version of the patch 10.1 PTR. I already put out a video giving my brief thoughts upon first reaction about the changes, but now that I've actually seen the tree and played with it a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some talent choices as well as a little bit of my thoughts on how the new talents actually look, how they play, and how they feel, because honestly I feel like this is way better than even our current iteration of Evoker on live, and far better than the changes we were gonna get. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. Now the top row row remains largely unchanged, right? We're still gonna be taking Pyre into our Essence Burst into, this is for a raid scenario, by the way, a single target raid scenario. Dance Energy, we're going to pick up our Dragonrage, our Arcane Intensity, and then this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick up Attuned Essence, Animosity, and now here's where it's going to get different. Okay, we're going to get Catalyzed, we're going to get Tyranny, obviously, we have to take those for single target. Here's where it's a bit interesting, okay? So we can take either Event Horizon or we can take Eye of Infinity. Now, honestly, I think that it's way easier to extend your Dragon Rages if you take Event Horizon, but Eye of Infinity might be doing a little bit more damage. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to wait for the sims on that. One thing to point out is with Eye of Infinity, the Eternity Surges being increased by 15%. That also works with Scintillation, which is now a capstone, which honestly, it always felt like a capstone. I don't know why it wasn't, because it was always super strong. Anyway, so Eye of Infinity is gonna work super well with Scintillation, but Event Horizon is just going to be pretty decent all around with the Dragon Rage extensions. If it comes down to it and we need those extra 3 seconds in order to extend the Dragon Rage, I could see Event Horizon being good on single target. However, for now, I'm just going to go ahead and take Eye of Infinity. And then next up, we're going to go ahead and take Shattering Star. And we're going to go Power Nexus into Engulfing Blaze. And then we've actually got 1 point to spend here. So if it's purely single target, if it's absolutely purely single target, you can put 1 into Honed Aggression. Or if it's not single target, if there's actually, I think how it's going to work is if there's 2 targets at any point during the fight, you're going to want to take Eternity Span instead of Honed Aggression. But if it's totally purely absolutely single target, you'd put the 1 into Honed Aggression. Okay. And then, of course, we get our Spellweaver's Dominance. We get our Burnout, which is now only 1 point, which is absolutely fantastic. And then we're going to go down into Titanic Wrath and go into the new reworked Causality, which is so much better to play with. Absolutely great. Love it. And then I think next up, we're going to either take Arcane Vigor or Focusing Iris. Now, both of these are great. Okay, Focusing Iris still the same, still adds 2 seconds to our Shattering Star window. Arcane Vigor solves so many problems that we had within our Dragon Rage window, and I'll explain why. So, normally we'd just use Azure Strike to get stacks of Essence Burst in Dragon Rage, but now with Arcane Vigor, Shattering Star always gives a proc of Essence Burst, which helps out so much during Dragon Rage, because that means we can actually hit it on cooldown and not have to worry about using another global to get our next Essence Burst proc. So I personally like Arcane Vigor a lot more than Focusing Iris, because I feel like the guaranteed Essence Burst, and remember, that's a guaranteed Essence Burst even outside of Dragon Rage. So you only need to get 1 charge of Essence Burst for your Shattering Star windows outside of Dragon Rage, which is so much more lenient and so much better than getting 2 procs of Essence Burst before your Shattering Star, which wouldn't always happen, right? And since we're taking Titanic Wrath, we want to make sure that we're going to go ahead and use those Essence Burst procs as valuable as they can, or make them as valuable as they can be. And I think Arcane Vigor is probably going to be the way to go with that. It's going to be close between the two, I can already tell. It's going to depend on what the sims say, but honestly, I can't see it being super far apart. So I'm going to go ahead and take Arcane Vigor for the guaranteed Essence Burst proc. And now here's where it gets not weird, but here's where it gets like competitive, which is good, you know, because this is the more AOE side of the tree, right? We have Imminent Destruction, which has been reworked. And we've got Font of Magic, which has been reworked. So here's what they do now. Imminent Destruction. Deep Breath is going to reduce the essence cost of Disintegrate and Pyre by 1 for 10 seconds. So it's going to make Disintegrate cost 2 essence, and it's going to make Pyre cost 1 essence. And now here's why this is so good for AoE. It's going to make it so that you can just machine gun pyres into the mobs for 10 seconds after using Deep Breath. And that's pretty great, honestly, for AoE. But we're making a single target build right now, so we're going to ignore it for the moment. It might have some usefulness on single target or even cleave fights because of the reduced cost of Disintegrate. But overall, you're getting much more value out of this in AoE because Pyre, for 1, costs less essence, and 2, is way faster to shotgun than the Disintegrates. So I think, honestly, this is going to be an AoE talent. Might have some usefulness in AoE, might be good for cleave, but we'll find out. Font of Magic increases your empower levels by 1, of course, for your empower spells, and increases the rate that they reach maximum power by 20%. Now, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good, but again, for single target, we don't really use our maximum rank empower spells. We only really charge them to 1 rank. So the 20% faster, while interesting and might help us out a little bit in the actual Dragonrage window, probably not going to be as valuable as what we have on the right side of the tree. So with that over, let's go ahead and get into it. Hoarded Power is now no longer a capstone. They've swapped the two. They've swapped Hoarded Power and Scintillation, which honestly I think was a really good choice because Hoarded Power never really felt like a great capstone. If they buffed it up to like 30 or 35%, I could have seen an argument for it. It was always okay, it was always good, but it was never that good, you know? Scintillation is definitely where it's at, and like I mentioned before, the Eye of Eternity buff with Eternity Surge is going to apply to Scintillation as well, making it even better to make sure that you use your Disintegrates within the Shattering Star window, which is why Arcane Vigor is so good. And then of course we get Power Swell. Now, Power Swell is something we didn't pick up before because it was not worth 2 points, and getting into Feed the Flames was so vital to the way our spec played that we just couldn't play without it. But since Feed the Flames has been reworked, which I'll go over when I go over another AoE build, we now have points to spend where we could either go Power Swell into Iridescence, or we could go just 2 into Honed Aggression. And honestly, I think Power Swell into Iridescence is going to be way, way, way better than 2 into Honed Aggression. And this is going to be our single target build, probably. This is what I'm thinking as of right now. If they make any more changes, you know, this could change. It's still in PTR. But right now, this is what our single target build is probably going to look like. And honestly, I think it's fantastic. I can't get over how great it is. Because here's the thing, right? We're going to be able to use Iridescence, which I always thought was a pretty decent talent. We're going to be able to use Scintillation. We're going to use the new Causality. And this is going to be great. Why? Because Power Swell is going to help us out in our Dragonrage window a lot, because of the way the new Causality works. It's every time Disintegrate ticks, it lowers the cooldown of your empowered spells. You don't need to spend an Essence Burst anymore to lower the cooldown of your spells. So that means using our actual Essence to cast Disintegrates is going to be much better than it was before. Because before it was all about getting the Essence Burst procs. Now we have some leniency and we actually want to be using our Disintegrates in their base form without Essence Burst. And Power Swell is going to make that a lot easier because it might make it so that with our tier set, which is going to make it so that when we use our empowered spells, our dot that we're going to put up is going to do more damage for 5 seconds. We might actually want to be spreading out. Actually, no, I'm not even going to say we might want to be. There's actually quite a lot of incentive now to spread out your empower spells so that you get the most out of your 1, your 4 set, and 2, font of power, or not font of power, power swell, because you're going to want to make sure that you use them apart so you get the most benefit out of it. Because remember, these buffs, power swell and the dot damage buff, they're not going to add on to each other. They're just going to refresh. So you're going to want to make sure to spread them out to get the most use out of it. So this is going to be our single target most likely, and honestly, I'm so happy about it. I think that the Eye of Eternity, jeez, if I can speak, and the Scintillation is going to be a really cool combo. Getting a charge of Essence Burst guaranteed when you use Shattering Star is going to be fantastic for just the feel of playing in Dragonrage. And also because it was always really awkward hitting Shattering Star while in Dragonrage because you didn't get an Essence Burst from it, but now you do. And then Iridescence is going to be pretty cool to play with. Nobody, we haven't played with it before, so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that's actually going to fit into our rotation now. If we're going to want to, save our spells or save our empowered spells even more so that we can, let out an Eternity Surge after a Shattering Star and then throw a buffed Disintegrate, like an even more buffed Disintegrate, or, realistically, we can only really do Fire Breath into Living Flame, but we could save up 2 Burnout procs and then throw those, and that'd be pretty cool. Honestly, the thought process we're going to have now, we're no longer going to be a super easy spec to play. We'll still probably be on the easier side, but there's at least things to think about now, and that's just really all that I wanted from the changes. It's definitely really good. There's still some pathing issues that I don't particularly like, but honestly, I'm just being nitpicky. For instance, I would prefer if maybe Lay Waste was like, if Onyx Legacy was like right here, in between Animosity and Essence Attunement, and we could just move Onyx Legacy, because moving Onyx Legacy from here to here doesn't really do anything to the pathing, because Onyx Legacy is a dead-end talent anyway, it doesn't connect to anything, so you could just put it right here. That way it would make a little bit more sense, because Lay Waste would connect to Onyx Legacy. They both have something to do with Deep Breath. And I would also really like to go from Volatility down to Firestorm, because having to go from Volatility to Engulfing Blaze to Firestorm, we don't really care about Engulfing Blaze and M+. The only thing that helps that out really is Leaping Flames, and Leaping Flames is like only once really every 20 seconds, so it's not the greatest, but honestly, that's just me being nitpicky. So with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and get into an AOE build. Alright, so here we go with the AOE build. I think honestly this is probably going to be our best build for AOE. And as you can see, it's going to be taking Volatility. We're going to be taking Eternity Span. We're actually going to take Event Horizon for more Eternity Surges. We're not taking Shattering Star. I'm actually going to go ahead and just drop Shattering Star for the time being. This is just a pure AOE build. There's probably going to be a good hybrid build out somewhere, but I think this is probably going to be, if we're just purely doing AOE, if we just need to murder some ads, this is going to be it. So we're going to go Firestorm, Raging Inferno into Imminent Destruction and Feed the Flames. And yes, I did test out stacking Firestorm and Feed the Flames. So how it works is you can cast all 12 of your pyres to get Firestorm, the instant Firestorm, and then you can also throw down your regular like ability Firestorm. And if you have Raging Inferno, it will buff the pyres by 50%, or not by 50%, by 40% instead of the normal 20%. They do stack, so that's something to keep in mind. Unless they get rid of that before the patch launches, but I did test that out. Firestorm and Feed the Flames, they do stack for your pyre damage. And then of course we have Titanic Wrath into Causality. Causality, this is so insane. Causality is so insane for AoE. I've gotten absolutely massively. I've gotten up to a minute in Dragonrage with causality with the new one and imminent destruction, because remember, you can just shotgun pyres. You can shotgun 6 whole fucking pyres before you even need to worry about getting an essence burst proc. And by that time, with volatility, you could get some really good luck where your abilities are already off cooldown, your empower abilities are already off cooldown, and then you can just throw them again. It's actually insane how long you can get a Dragonrage now, because you don't need to spend the essence burst. It just always reduces it by however many mobs there are. So this is going to be super good for places like Nokud, places like Halls of Valor. Oh, actually, wait a minute, we're not even going to have those. I'm talking out my ass. Yeah, probably Brackenhide. Let's see what else. Vortex Pinnacle has a couple higher pulls, but not really that many. I remember, if I can remember correctly, I think Neltharian's Lair's got a good amount of them. It's got like a good amount of 5-packs in it. And, you know, we'll just have to see how that goes. But honestly, I think this is going to be more or less our AOE setup. There's probably going to be a couple things you'll want to switch out for, like Tyrannical Week. Maybe do take Shattering Star. Maybe do take Catalyze for the single target damage. But as far as it goes, this is going to be pretty good. Now, they did switch Everburning Flame and Feed the Flames. They did just take those and split them apart, which I think is fine. I think that's pretty good. It's a pretty decent thing to do. And Imminent Destruction is going to be so fun on AoE, because you're just going to, oh god, you're just going to throw it and be able to murder the shit out of some mobs. It's going to be fantastic. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do have our super long Dragonrage back. Now, the longest I was able to get it to under Lust was 42 seconds, but that's way better than the 34 seconds we were going to get in the previous changes. So here's how it's going to work. You're going to want to use your Dragonrage and then immediately use your charge spells. Nothing different there. But before getting your 2 charges of Essence Burst, you're going to disintegrate twice and spend your essence. The reason being is because Power Swell, after you use your empowered abilities, is going to buff your essence generation, so you're going to get that back. And also, you're just going to be able to get Essence Burst procs after that. And remember, you get a guaranteed one with Shattering Star now, so it's going to fit much nicer into the combination of abilities, into the rotation. And then you, of course, you use your Essence Burst and you use your Living Flame when you get Burnout procs, and it's going to be pretty simple from then on and then forth. You're just going to use your Eternity Surge and your Fire Breath on cooldown as you would normally, making sure to disintegrate as much as you can, and remember to let it full channel. You can chain them together, which is fine, but just don't clip. Clipping is no longer what we want to do. You don't want to clip it unless you're going to run out of Dragonrage and you have an empowered ability left. So here's how it's going to look. All right, and that's what our Dragonrage is going to look like, guys. Hopefully we're able to see that. Honestly, I'm so excited for it. I'm glad we get our long Dragonrages back. I'm glad the skill expression is back in our cooldown. Oh man, these changes have just been fantastic, and I can't wait to play with them on 10.1. If you're looking for a more in-depth guide on how the single target rotation is going to go out of Dragonrage, I'm going to work on that. I want to work on the AoE rotation, but that was just a quick glance on how the actual Dragonrage rotation is going to go. You'll notice that I used Eternity Surge first over Fire Breath. Honestly, that doesn't much matter. We're still going to be using the tip the scales for the Fire Breath at the end to make sure we get the increased duration. And yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to go. It feels way smoother than it did before, honestly. and I can't wait to play with it on live, man. I'm so excited for this. Anyway, those are the changes and a more in-depth look, some talent choices that I think we're going to be taking, and the Dragonrage rotation. You'll notice that I didn't include the staff because, unfortunately, we're probably not going to have the staff. They're either going to nerf it in 10.1 or they're just going to have something better, right? Unfortunately, we lose the staff, which kind of sucks, but you know what? With these changes, I'm not even super mad about it. Anyway, like I said, that's the Dragonrage rotation. That's going to be some talent setups for y'all to look into, and I will see y'all next time.